Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the weather forecast here by Adrian's Weather Forecast. This is going to be a very exciting and detailed weather forecast here on the major severe weather. We have major new updates again. This is going to be very historic and possibly very close to being likely the 2011 outbreak. Of course, I don't think we'll have that many tornadoes and won't be as long lasting. But again, guys, we have major new updates today and tomorrow. We'll be seeing major severe weather. Of course, tomorrow and Sunday we'll have very strong severe weather. And of course, Sunday and Easter Sunday will be the worst of it. We have up to a level 4 moderate risk, and we're continuing to see these risks getting a lot more widespread. Very soon, we'll see a level 5 risk be issued throughout the South Central. I believe that will be issued by later tonight. So definitely something very we have to keep a close eye on. Again, we have major states like Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Georgia, and Tennessee that are in the risk of seeing the worst of the severe weather outbreak they have seen since close to 2011, if not 2014. So again, very big outbreak, likely very historic as well in the books. Again, we're going to be seeing very large hail, and there's a very high tornado risk and wind threat, even a hail risk for many millions, including me. So be sure to subscribe. We're even going to compare what we're going to be seeing right now to 2011 and see exactly if there's signs of this becoming the 2011 outbreak again, guys. We're going to be looking at detailed radars. We're also going to be looking at the joules per kilogram to see if there's any energy over your city that will cause any risk. So I want to thank you guys all for the support in the last video. We're close to 500 views in that video. Thank you so much. Again, we are 2 subscribers away from 2,100, so please subscribe. And again, I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on this, and hopefully we don't see as bad as 2011. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So this video is going to be very long, rather long, because we're going to be looking at very detailed, and this is probably probably close to one of my most detailed weather forecasts I've ever done. So this is something really crazy. So again, we have the severe weather beginning right now here in Texas, and it's going to be moving eastward. And again, with this low pressure system over the central plains developing and getting a lot stronger, so that jet stream and the moisture and the ingredients from the south central and also out there in the Gulf of Mexico will be rising again. Also, the isobars will be very close, bring those very strong southern winds. So again, right now we have tornado watches in effect throughout areas into the northern counties of Texas and also southern of Oklahoma. So we'll have areas out here, Abilene, we have Clarendon, Wichita Falls, Altus, Mediter. We also have areas out here into Ozona, Swirling City. We also have Abilene as well. And then we also have up out here into Oklahoma again, out here near Lawton, Oklahoma, Hobart. This is where we have tornado watches in these yellow counties. So you're going to have to watch out. Might as well take cover because there's a very good chance we will be seeing tornadoes in these areas, especially tornado warnings moving towards the Dallas area and Fort Worth, and even out there moving towards San Antonio. So definitely seeing these major bands start developing as we continue to go in the overday heating. And then again, we have the severe thunderstorm warnings as well. So that's what we have in the National Weather Service. Again, we're going to be taking a look at the day 1 outlook. This is what we're seeing today. We have up to an enhanced risk, which is a level 3, and tomorrow we'll be seeing a level 4, but very closely it will be updated to a level 5 out of 5, which is a high risk, which is the highest you can go possibly. Again, so the enhanced risk has actually gone all the way up to Oklahoma. I believe this enhanced risk should be for Dallas and Fort Worth with these very strong bands we saw earlier today, and we'll start to see later this evening. But there showed a slight chance where we still have a 10% chance for tornadoes today. For the marginal, we have 13 million people, now including Nebraska and Missouri as well, and they're going as far east as Mississippi. So continue to see this risk for Mississippi today and tomorrow. So Miami, Florida, Tulsa, Wichita, Hialeah, and Lubbock. This is where we have the marginal. We have a bit of a risk out here with the humidity and overday heating in southern Florida. But again, it's also going to be moving again for Jackson, Mississippi. Also going to be affecting Alexandria, Little Rock, Tupelo, Kansas City, and all the way up into not far from Lincoln, Nebraska. In these slight chances where we have even bigger cities out here, we have more population. We have 16 million people under the slight chance. That's a level 2 out of 5, so that we have a bit better risk for seeing hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes compared to the marginal. That's for Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, and Arlington. And then for the enhanced risk, this is our highest risk for today, level 3 out of 5, the best chance for seeing severe weather. That's for 6 million people, including San Antonio, Austin, Waco, Abilene, and Kylie, Texas. Again, tornado risk is quite high at a 10% chance, which is actually not, you probably think only just 10% chance. A 10% chance is like saying a 50 to a 70% chance, in other words, because these tornado chances are always going to be very low unless there's a very guaranteed. You can never say there's a guaranteed risk unless once you have one. So again, 2% chance to a 10% chance. For 2% chance, we have Texas, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, and the worst of it, the 10% chance, we have a couple. We have two regions, including Austin and San Antonio, and then a bit more to the north, we have Round Rock, Cedar Park, and Abilene. So we have 3.5 million people in the 10% chance. Wind threat's quite low to 15% chance. I thought it would be a 30% chance because of these very strong southern winds. That's going to be only for 13 million, including Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. And the wind threat, the hail threat, actually a 30% chance. That's for 6 million people, including San Antonio, Austin, Abilene, and Kylie. That's where our highest risk for today is. Tomorrow, again, it's still at a high risk. I really don't know what's taking them so long to actually put it at a high risk. It's definitely has to be one. But at a marginal, we have, again, up to a level 1 through 4 out of 5. So either way, if we don't get a high risk, definitely still a major risk for incredibly big tornadoes. Possibly EF3s to EF5s are likely, including Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville, and even Alexandria and Tupelo, including Jackson and Montgomery. Major cities in the way of the worst of the severe weather. The marginal is including 57 million people. Again, we're seeing multiple bands throughout much of the eastern United States, but of course the worst of it will be maintaining in the south central and southeast. Again, we have Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, Fort Worth, Philadelphia, and Jackson, all under these marginal risk. And then for the slight chances where we see a better risk for severe weather, mainly in very late Sunday morning. Very late Sunday night and evening, especially for the Carolinas and the Virginias. That's where we've seen these bands arriving very late today, and throughout a couple hours in the day, we'll be seeing these first bands, and of course the worst will be arriving closer to Monday. So again, the slight chances including 36 million people, including Houston still, Dallas, Charlotte, Tulsa, and Raleigh, also including Evansville, Lexington, Cincinnati, Charleston, close to Augusta, Georgia, Clemson, also including Winston-Salem and Charlotte, of course. And then for the enhanced risk, which is what we are seeing starting to spread. Actually, I predicted yesterday's video that the enhanced risk will move into the Carolinas, and yes, it did. And I also predicted it would move all the way to northern Tennessee and Kentucky, and yes, it did. We even have far southern Illinois and even Missouri have been added to the enhanced risk, and it's going to continue to move eastward. I believe the border line for the enhanced risk tomorrow should be all the way over here. Actually not. I believe the enhanced risk should be all the way over here, close to Charlotte and Clemson and Asheville. I think y'all should be added in the enhanced risk, and that's for level 3. I'm actually deeper in this enhanced risk now, and look, the moderate risk is actually almost to the border with Georgia. This is also starting to move eastward as well. So I would not doubt if I get added into a moderate risk, which I have not seen in a moderate risk since the 2011 outbreak. Again, very close to this moderate risk for millions of people, including Atlanta. You are getting very close. Even Montgomery, you guys are very close as well. Gulfport, and who knows if it actually gets all the way up to Memphis. But the enhanced risk has 25 million people, including Memphis, Nashville, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Baton Rouge. And of course, we have Montgomery, Mobile, Macon, Georgia, also including out there all the way up into Paducah, Kentucky, Little Rock, Poplar Bluff. Sadly, we have Jonesboro, Arkansas, still recovering from those two major tornadoes. And now the moderate risk. This is where we have the highest risk for tomorrow, the best chance for multiple major tornadoes, multiple hail reports, and especially damaging winds. Again, we will also be seeing a power outage threat with these winds and these thunderstorms. Definitely not something we want to see. Again, the moderate risk is including a lot of people, not climbing past 5 million people, including Birmingham, Jackson, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Hoover, and Monroe. Very big cities. And the tornado risk is actually going to surprise you. Up to a 15% chance. Very low compared to the 2011 outbreak, but it still has time to climb up. We still have to wait for that later in the afternoon update, where that's where we could possibly see at a high percent chance once it updates again. We're not very far off from the number percentage of the tornado risk. It's looking very, it's not, the location isn't exactly like 2011. It's a bit more north than 2011. But again, we're definitely starting to see a resemblance of 2011 outbreak. A 2% chance is very widespread for 35 million people. Very unlikely to see tornadoes in those areas. I know usually a 2% chance, I usually say is still a very good chance, but again, very unlikely, except for the Ohio Valley. That's where we can be added to a 5% chance in no time, and you'll see why later in the video. The 5% chance is including me as well. I'm actually not too far from the 10% chance, and I was actually at a way higher risk in 2011, and nothing happened in my area. There was a tornado not too far from my area. I think I actually had the tornado sirens, and I was actually outside at some point. But again, 15% chance for tornado risk, which is like saying close to a 80% chance. In other words, we have a barometer of 7 in these areas, which is technically saying a 70% chance. 15 again, that's for 5 million people. Birmingham, Jackson, Tuscaloosa, Hoover, and Monroe. So if you're in any of these cities, even if you're in the yellow or brown, you have to really watch out. Again, even a 10% chance, guys, we have 15 million people in that 10% chance. Memphis, New Orleans, Atlanta, Baton Rouge, and Montgomery. That's just crazy. The wind threat's going to be shocking. We're climbing past close to a 50% chance. Again, I'm actually in a 30% chance, but wow, this is just crazy, these winds. Again, we're going to be seeing hurricane force winds in some of these areas. Again, I'm starting slowly, when you look at the Weather Channel app, slowly the winds are getting higher from my area. And even when I show, in the Weather Channel app, for those who have it, when you tap on the day outlook, it shows nighttime and daytime. For my nighttime for Sunday, it says large hail and possible tornadoes. And I have not seen that since earlier in the early 2010s. So when it says, if you guys get the Weather Channel app, that's very, very useful. If it says large hail and possible tornadoes, you definitely need to watch out. And I'm actually going to be sleeping in the basement that night, and Monday morning might even be worse. But again, we're going to be just talking about the 30% chance and 45% chance, because below 15% chance isn't too bad. 30% chance is for 21 million people. For the wind threat, that's Nashville, Atlanta, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Montgomery, and Shreveport. I think Atlanta and Nashville should be added to the 45% chance. Let's just see what happens, since we have plenty of time for this to update. And then the 45% chance. That's basically saying a 45% chance to actually a 60% chance, because the next color is not till 60% chance. Again, that's for 5.5 million people. Memphis, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Hoover, and Jackson, Tennessee are all under a 45% chance. Hail threats a bit on the lower side. I'm actually under a 15% chance. I feel like we should actually have a 45% chance here as well, because there's a guarantee of seeing possibly golf-sized hail, if not softball-sized hail. 30% chance is for now 14 million people, and now you see a lot more states under this. That's now for Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. Look how almost the whole state of Mississippi's under that 30% chance. That for the far coastal area. Basically 99% of 99.99% of Mississippi is under that 30% chance, which is crazy. And almost 85% of Alabama as well. So that's crazy. We have Memphis, Birmingham, Baton Rouge, Montgomery, Shreveport. And then the SIG, that's, or SIG, severe, that's for, again, 15 million people as well. Now, that's what we saw here. And now we're going to be looking at the 2011 forecast, what we saw, and then we'll start looking at the detailed radars. So this is, again, ahead of time. This is not what we're seeing tomorrow right now. This is, we just talked about what we're seeing tomorrow. This is 2011. So again, in 2011, it looks quite different, as you can tell. Very different, except we have all the way up into the northeast in 2011 in a slight chance, and we only have this marginal going all the way to the mid-Atlantic. So again, and the severe weather risk was a lot higher. It was actually in the Appalachians and the northern part of the southeast, and we actually had up to a high percent chance. We actually had up to, again, a high percent chance earlier on. And as you can tell, we didn't have such thing as the marginal back then. We had just slight, moderate, and high, and then the general thunderstorms. So again, if we had a moderate risk for Kentucky, my area, again, I have not seen a moderate since, I think, 2011, or if not, I probably had maybe a moderate back in 2014. But again, we actually had the high percent chance for Birmingham, though. We actually had that for Birmingham. So it's very similar to the Alabama part, Mississippi, and northwestern Georgia. Again, I feel like much of northern Georgia and southern Tennessee should be under the moderate. So again, that's what we saw back then. And the tornado threat was shocking. We saw a 30 to a 45% chance for tornadoes. That's like saying it's a guaranteed. Here we only have up to a 15% chance, like I said. Not incredibly close. I was actually under a 15% chance, and I was actually close to the border, a 30% chance, but or the 15% chance. But again, we saw up to a 30% chance, and we saw up to 5% chance go all the way up to New York, guys. Again, we saw this a whole eastern track. We saw tornadoes all the way up in the northeast, and this is April 25th to the 28th. And then the wind threat was actually high, very high, but it's actually the same thing. We actually have a 45% chance for both, except it's a lot more widespread here in the 2011 outbreak. I was actually under the 45% chance in 2011, and this is maintaining in the south central. This is more of the Appalachians and all the way up into the northern Ohio Valley. And hail threat was very high. We saw a 45 to a 60% chance for hail. Here we have a 30 to 45% chance. So again, I was actually under this 45% chance as well. So as you can tell, it was crazy in 2011, and there's like nothing like it. This is, again, historic. On the 27th, guys, we saw close to 300 tornadoes go all the way up to New York. We're definitely not going to be seeing these tornadoes get past Virginia or West Virginia in this outbreak. Really, the tornadoes, which we'll have, definitely will possibly stay in between here. This is going to be the risk for tornadoes for this outbreak, really. Including this area. This is where we'll possibly have the risk, if any. Not this whole. This is going to be for now. If we have for the tornado risk, this will have a chance for tornadoes. But it's not going to go all the way up there. We saw, again, almost 1,000 reports of almost 500 wind reports and 200 hail reports. The next day, the 25th, we saw only 59 tornadoes, but we saw 500 reports of severe weather. And then we get worse in the 26th. It's 126 reports again. This is the 3-day lasting severe weather outbreak. And again, this is going to be more of a 2-day outbreak, but 1 day, or kind of a 2.5 hours right now, more like 1.5 day outbreak, including, or more like 2.5, including today all the way to Monday morning. So this is. We won't have as much tornadoes. Like, we won't have 400 tornadoes in total or 500 tornadoes in total. Because, again, we will be getting close to that 3-day severe weather outbreak from now to Monday. But it won't be as bad the whole 3 days, if you know what I'm saying. So that's what we're comparing to 2011. Here we are looking at Saturday. or later today. Here again, we have these bands developing again in northern Texas and Arkansas. Nothing major. Again, we saw the worst bands earlier today, and then it's going to be moving. It's going to be moving, and then we have more bands developing. Here we have that first band. This is Sunday morning. Outbreak and Advance. This is going to be very, very light thunderstorms. It wouldn't be too bad, except for Little Rock and Memphis. You guys might see some very strong thunderstorms for a couple minutes, but here we have this major band developing in Texas near San Antonio or north of San Antonio, moving towards the Austin area. This is going to be the major band here with the overday heating, and very strong bands heading towards northern Georgia. Again, these bands will be going all the way up into the Midwest. So we still have a very big and widespread risk for severe weather like 2011. Just we're not going to be seeing these layers as widespread again. Here we have these very strong bands. Again, this is Easter morning, and this is where things start to get interesting here. Let's actually choose now the southeast, so we can actually see exactly how bad these bands will be if this thing actually works. Actually, it's not working right now because it's actually refreshing right now. So again, we're gonna have to come back to this later. So let's actually go ahead and just go to the GFS one right now. So while the the European radar actually reloads, we actually might just not look at the European radar this video. Again, I might have a later update only if it turns to a high percent chance where we have major updates with the Storm Prediction Center. But again, GFS, again, the next 10 hours, we see these very strong bands, of course, developing later tonight out here into the Texas area. Also developing out there into southern Oklahoma. Again, mainly right here, we have a slight percent chance. So the worst of it was earlier today out here where we had the enhanced risk. But again, these bands are going to continue to go on through later tonight into early Sunday morning. These bands continue on. Here's the first bands that will be heading down towards the Ozarks, heading towards Missouri, now also heading towards the southeast, going past Little Rock. This has the best chance for seeing the severe causing tornadoes for Arkansas and also Oklahoma. And this is the major one right here developing. This is going to be the maker. This is going to be this little band is going to be the severe weather maker for millions and causing the historic outbreak again. Now it's going to be getting a lot worse. Again, here we have this first band that we saw earlier tonight, or this is the band that we will see tonight that will develop into multiple bands by Sunday morning or by tomorrow morning. Again, developing throughout Missouri, Tennessee, and much of Arkansas, especially just south of Jonesboro, will have the worst of these bands. But look at these now. We have not one, but two major bands developing within hours. Again, this will be heading towards Wichita Falls, heading towards out there near Lawton. And then this is going to possibly be a really big band. This is going to definitely cause a loss of your weather. That's why we have a slight percent chance for eastern Texas. That's going to be a ton of severe weather out there into now just south of Tyler, Texas, moving towards the Shreveport area is definitely going to get hit really hard. And that's where you start to see these bands doubling in size and energy. Again, the next couple of hours, we'll start to see these bands heading straight towards my area. Again, this is going to be going straight through Atlanta. The worst of this band will be going straight through Atlanta. Well, again, we still have this first band. This is the band that we'll be seeing within a couple hours developing Texas. It's still going to be in Missouri, Arkansas, and Tennessee. It's going to be staying there for a very long time. Again, barely even moving at that point. Again, this very first band is going to be now going out there to Athens, Georgia, very strong, into South Carolina. That's going to be causing that early severe weather threat. You're thinking it's Sunday night. It's looking like a normal severe weather outbreak. But watch right here. Watch right here. We start to see these bands completely turn into this major band, especially with this low pressure system strengthening. Look, we still have this jet stream, this moisture coming from the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be a lot worse with this low pressure system strengthening. So that's going to strengthen the flow from the Gulf, which is going to strengthen these bands again. Very big threat early on in Sunday night and evening for South Carolina, even North Carolina. You guys will see that first band. And then we see these bands out there in Kentucky, now even southern Illinois, Missouri, starting to strengthen a lot. And look at these bands now strengthening That's going to cause a huge threat throughout Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, and also Kentucky and South Carolina. But watch right here. This is where we see the possibly the tornado maker. Look, now we have that low pressure system right over this band at 989 millibars. That is why this low pressure system not only strengthens and drops a couple millibars, but it's right over these bands, which will make it the strongest it can be. And look at these bands behind it. These are multiple bands heading towards Little Rock, Jonesboro, and they are very fierce, these bands. But look at this one for Southern Illinois, far southeastern Missouri. You guys are gonna be seeing the worst of it. Now Memphis, you guys will be seeing the worst of it. But look at these bands. These are massive bands. These are something that you will see in like major movies that cause major tornadoes. This will be the band you will see in that movie. But again, that's gonna be causing a huge threat for Southern Indiana, and that's why I said earlier in the video that this will be like the only area in the 2% chance that has a really good chance for tornadoes. Evansville, you guys are in a very high risk for tornadoes. I think you guys should be upgraded to possibly a 10% chance. Cincinnati, you guys can be really upgrading. Louisville, and also moving straight towards Nashville. Again, here we have this very strong band from Montgomery. This band's going to head straight for those areas, and boom, straight through Nashville, going straight through Cincinnati, and then these bands are going to be heading towards Atlanta, causing the worst of the severe weather by Monday morning. It's going to be going straight through Atlanta, straight through North Carolina, even all the way to the panhandle of Florida. Still seeing that very strong severe weather all the way to Lexington, and then again going to go straight through South Carolina, and that's what we'll be seeing there. Now for the joules per kilogram with the energy. This is now 11 a.m. by tomorrow. Again, very little energy. But again, here we have that jet stream coming from the Gulf Coast. We have all the energy, all the moisture in the Gulf of Mexico, mainly right off the coast of Texas and Louisiana. With these strong winds, these southern winds coming from that low pressure system, that's going to push that energy inland in these areas, and that's where we see these numbers very high by the afternoon tomorrow. Here again, 11 a.m. you see Houston 3,000. Really, the highest numbers are just the early 3,000s or the little 3,000s. But now you start to see a huge change by 2 o'clock. Now you're seeing a lot more energy coming from these. Look at this. Look at this. You can just see the winds and the stream coming from the Gulf, causing a lot of energy to spill out in the Gulf Coast. Again, still seeing now Houston, you guys are going down, but here we have some 3,000s turning into 4,000s. Again, we're going to get to 4,500 by 2 o'clock. 5 o'clock gets a lot worse now. We're seeing a lot of energy developing out here near Shreveport, Monroe, which is where we have, again, that slight or that enhanced and moderate risk. Monroe at 4,100. Now we're seeing high 4,000s, which is not what you want to see. By 8 o'clock, it's going to start now, this energy moving all the way up inland into Arkansas at a really high number. Near Greenville, 3,900. Still seeing these 4,000s. And by 11 o'clock, it all goes out with this energy still out there in the Gulf. Again, that energy will start to die down, and wouldn't really see that much really into Monday, really seeing maybe a little bit of energy in southern Georgia. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, this is a very long video. I don't expect all you guys to watch it, but wow, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's actually really make sure really quick just to see if they actually updated with this close to 30-minute video. No, they have not. Okay, hopefully they updated, and yeah, bye guys.